Hi guys. I'm coming to you from Saturday morning. Now, I said in my last week's video that on Sunday I wouldn't be able to upload my videos with to you on that day. As usual, I would do the announcement one, but my actual review I wouldn't be able to do because I just would be out until late in the evening at the last day of the literature festival that I attend each year in Cheltenham, which, you know, was understandable, and I was on track to do that. But then I finished the book that I was reading this week. I finished it very early this morning. I only had like 5 pages or something left, so I finished it off this morning. And I'm actually not due at the festival for, what is it? It's like 9 o'clock in the morning, so not for another 5 hours. So I thought, right, I'll film it now and I'll get it uploaded right away. So rather than come to you a day late, I'm coming a day early. I hope you guys are happy with that. So, might as well talk about the book I've been reading this week, which is The Death and Life of Charlie St.Cloud. Now, I've got the version that's got the film cover because what happened was I kept on picking up this book at Waterstone's bookshop, which is a bookshop chain here in the UK, very well known. And I just kept on flicking through it and really liking it. And then I thought, right, I'll go and get it on like a Monday morning or something. And when I turned up, all the copies with the original cover were gone and were replaced with this one. So I read the book. It was about 4, I think probably 4, maybe 5 months before the film came out. I hadn't seen the trailer or anything. I just literally picked it up. So it's not because of Zac Efron or anything like that why I got this, but it was the fact that it was the only bloody cover that I could find. I don't tend to buy movie tie-in covers. It really depends on the availability, and in this case I could only get in this cover. Anyway. So, this is a reread for me, as you can tell, and I'll talk about the film in a bit. So, this book, it follows the life of Charlie St.Cloud, who's played by Zac Efron in the film, and he grows up in a New England fishing village. It's a fishing village that actually does exist. It's not some made-up name, place, and it follows his life, and in his earlier on in his life, when he was 15 years old, he got into an automobile accident. He stole a car, his neighbour's car, and took his little brother Sam to a Red Sox baseball game, and it's their favourite team and everything. And then on the way back home, they got into a horrific car crash, and Sam was killed. And Charlie has always felt the guilt of it, and he finds that Sam hasn't left. They have this pact to throw baseball around with each other all the time in the evenings and such, and he finds a spirit of Sam keeps on visiting him. And then it jumps to 13 years later, and it's him. He still has this routine of seeing Sam every day. He works in a cemetery. He's now, because in the accident, technically he died. He was with Sam kind of in the in-between world, limbo kind of world, and then was paramedics and firefighters and that shocked him back into life and dragged him away. And because he's been on the other side, he's able to see ghosts and that. So in the cemetery, he's burying his people, and then he's having conversations with them. So it's really a really interesting story. And this girl called Tess comes into his life. He's known her, at a distance from school and such, but they have never talked or anything. And it's all about their relationship. And he always has this thing. He has to keep his promise. He has to be there for Sam. If he doesn't turn up, then Sam will disappear, and that's it. It's over. He has to be there. He has to cling on to his brother. But then this new person comes into his life who he's compelled to be with, and conflicting feelings about where he is, where he wants to be, what is right and wrong, what he should be doing. It's a really interesting story. The reason why I started reading it, as I said, I've started flicking through it. I thought it was reading the back. I thought it was a very interesting concept for a story. But Ben Sherwood's writing, he's really fascinating to read. Because he's one of these writers. I couldn't help think kind of Agatha Christie-esque in regards to he has this ability to tell you so much in very few words. And like this book, I mean, it's not thick at all. It's like 250 280 pages or something in between there, kind of thing. And yet you have got crammed with so much information and thoughts and feelings, not just from his character, but from Sam, from Tess, the various people who live in the village who watch him. It's so beautifully written. You can tell, I think, that he respects the land, the place that it's set. He also totally respects those who are going through mourning. He looks at the different stages of mourning as well. And also, he has this really interesting factor that Sam, when he appears to Charlie, he's always the 12-year-old little boy. Always is. But even though he still plays around and tries to do jokey things and that, when he talks about being in the afterlife and everything, because it's 13 years he's been there in limbo, you can hear the adult in his voice. It's trying to explain what it's like, what he sees, what he can do, how he can make the wind, and how you send signals to those who are living, to let them know that you're there. It may be signals that they don't even realise. And he's a really beautiful character, is Sam. And just as when I first read it, just as when I reread it, the last scene that he has with Charlie had me in absolute floods of tears. I just thought it was wonderful. I adored it. I think it's absolutely brilliantly written, great story, wonderful characters, and the setting is just glorious. You feel you're there. It's just beautiful overall, and it makes me smile, even though it's got a really sad, kind of heavy, you could say, order to it, because of what it's about and everything. It's still got this really wonderful feel about it, and a warmth and a protection, a kind of feeling, like somebody's hugging you. That's how I feel when I read this book. I can't put it any other way. It's a really beautiful thing. Now the film. Okay, so given that I had read the book, then the trailer hit the cinema, and I go to cinema quite often, and so it appeared before a film I went to see. I can't remember what on earth it was anyway. And I liked the trailer, but I was a bit perplexed by it, just because there were certain things I was like, oh, okay. So first off the bat, Zac Efron, he's the gap between the accident and him years later in the cemetery, it's only like, from what I can recall, because it's been so long since I've seen it, so I might get a few of these things wrong, but it feels like, or or it is stated to be around like 5 years, something like that. So because he's meant to be about, I think, 20, maybe 21 or something. But in the book, it's a 13-year gap. So obviously he's a lot older. And there's the thoughts and the feelings and the whole thing of staying put and not allowing his heart to open up is a lot more deep. It's a lot deeper in the book than in the film, and it was kind of like I know, like in the film they can't have the thoughts pouring out of him. You can't hear his thoughts and all that lot. But it's like the most they could get Zac Efron to do to convey these moments where he's thinking, and it's like he even contemplates suicide at one point in the book, and that's not even mentioned in the film. The most that they're able to convey it is Zac Efron looking at a mirror and going, oh, and running his hands through his hair. That's it. Even though it was there, it was too light. It was too fluffy. It didn't have this darkness to it that obviously it had to have, because for Charlie to contemplate killing himself, for example, that darkness needs to be there. it was very interesting how they told the story, because you saw the accident, then you saw Sam's funeral, and then it jumped, whereas in the book you see the accident, then it jumps, and then it goes back to seeing what happened, talking about Sam's funeral. So yeah, it was interesting in that regard. I didn't like the whole the stuff with Tess and the boat. Okay, it was well shot and everything, but at the same time, there's certain conversations that happen in this book which don't happen in the film, which therefore makes subsequent decisions not make sense. There's like, Sam gets really angry when Tess turns up and has an argument with Charlie, saying, no, you want to replace me with her, and he gets really upset and angry. But that's not in the book either, because it's been 13 years, and even though Sam is still appearing as a 12-year-old boy, you've got that maturity in him where he's going, he says, I like her, she's a nice girl, even though she follows a different, a team other than the Red Sox. I can't remember, I think it's Pates that she follows, or something. I don't know, even if that's the team, because I don't follow baseball, so I don't know. I gather it is. But yeah, he says, yeah, I really like her, and he's very, even though he fools around and tries to distract Charlie and, be an annoying little brother, he totally accepts Tess. So why then in the film version have you got him getting angry at Tess being there? And becoming a wedge between the brothers. It's really odd. Yeah, I came out of there. I didn't cry. I didn't laugh. I just sat there for 2 hours, and I just felt horrible. Well, not horrible, but really disappointed when I couldn't write. There's with books, it's that thing that you'll always go in. There's always going to be tweaks. There's always going to be things that they're going to play around with. It's inevitable. But unless it's a truly horrific adaptation where they've completely rewritten the entire book, usually I come out and I'm not too bad with it. But this was just, I came out and I was like, I feel like I've wasted my money going to see this film. I couldn't do it. I just didn't like it at all. But then, of course, that's just my opinion. I'm sure there's plenty of people who have read the book who really liked the film. But I'm not one of them. I'm sorry. I feel like it didn't capture the tone of the story and what it is about correctly, because they didn't do that. And I have to say, there was one moment where I thought you could have done it, and they just didn't. And that is the last scene with Charlie and Sam. In that scene, it's so amazing. With Charlie and Sam, they talk to each other and everything, and they see each other and that. But Sam appears as the age that he would be now, the 13 years later, rather than the 12-year-old boy. And it's a wonderful moment in which, Sam has gone from being this little boy with his, jeans and throwing baseballs and that, to this 6'3", really stunning man. He just wants to see his brother one last time. And it floors me how beautiful and pure it is. And then when you came to the film version, Sam is still 12 years old, but Charlie can't see him. So he stood behind Charlie saying his bits, and Charlie's responding, but Charlie can't see him. And it's like, what are you doing? He has to see him. That's the point. It's about letting him go. He needs to see him that one last time to be able to shut the door. So to change it was, I couldn't get it. I don't know why they did it. So yeah, it was okay acted. I wish they had done it where you had the 13-year gap. I really wish they did. It was, yeah, I wasn't that impressed with it. I'm sorry. But as I said, there's going to be fans of the book who really enjoyed it. But for me, it wasn't right. It wasn't my Death and Life of Charlie St.Cloud. Yeah. But what I'll do, I'll put the trailer in the description of this video anyway, so if you want to check out the trailer, the link will be there if you want to. But anyway, right, I better stop because I need to start uploading this video. So that's what I thought of The Death and Life of Charlie St. Cloud by Ben Sherwood. I would really strongly recommend the book. It's absolutely fantastic, but I wouldn't recommend the film. Alright, and I will be back shortly as usual with video announcing what I'm going to be reading next in the book challenge. Alright then, bye!